Hello, my name is Robert Moore. I'm with the Nevada County Historical Society. And this morning we are in the presence of Mike Nevius, who on his business card says collector and preservationist. Mike, welcome.
Thank you for being here, Bob. Look forward to the interview.
Mike, I know you came up from Southern California and you were 9 years old when you first came to Nevada County. Your father purchased a store. Could you tell us a little bit about that store?
Yeah, it was a Union Hill store right next to the Union Hill School, which there's just a vacant lot there now where they park cars. But it was a store with one gas pump there, and probably built in maybe the early 20s. And he always wanted a store of his own, and he could develop it into what he wanted. He was a professional meat cutter. We came from Southern California. He worked in Redlands, California. We lived in Mentone, and so when he had the opportunity to buy the store, that's what he wanted to do, is do professional custom meat cutting. And then he developed the store into, since it was close to the school, a little I guess you'd call it a fast food place where they could cook hamburgers and have sandwiches for the kids and as they came in. And so it was a great time there, and enjoyed it for many years until, as you know, the mines closed in '57, and he had credit out to the miners, which is the way you did business in those days. You had a tab, and you'd put everything you bought on a tab. And so when the mines closed, unfortunately, those that lived in the area, they left the area and didn't pay their tab. And so we struggled along for another year before he actually lost the store. He went bankrupt there and couldn't no longer stay there.
When did he buy the store? What year was that?
In 1949. So the area was booming with all the mines that were working and the sawmills that were working, and the industry was really great. The hardware stores, just where everybody was busy. It was good time, good economic times.
And what was your role in that store? Did you eat just the hamburgers, or did you help behind the counter also?
No, I helped a little, mainly clean up, and sometimes I'd cook for some of the kids coming in. And of course, I was probably 10 years old when he really developed the store into the serving counter with the seats and so forth, and was cooking. So I didn't really do a lot of work there, just help where I could. Trucks come in, we'd unload merchandise and box and stock shelves and things like that.
Did you inherit your mechanical abilities from your father?
Probably, yeah. More, it's a God-given gift. I think I had an ability early on to just work on things and with my hands. And he always supported me. And he bought my first car when I was 13 years old.
What car was that?
It was a 28 Model A Cabriolet. And it's just the neighbor up the street had it. And I think I gave $20 for it, and then worked that off in the store for my dad. And then he taught me how to work on it, and he was always busy in the store. He didn't have much time, father and son time, so I had a little shop out behind the store, and I just tore into it and went through and worked on it all the time and enjoyed it. And I just had an ability to be able to look at and figure out the mechanics of a car, or even other things that I worked on too, bicycles and so forth. So
at 13, you couldn't legally drive, could you?
I got my driver's license when I was 14. You could do it under restricted permit, drive to and from work. I got a job at a ranch down in Browns Valley and applied for a special restricted driver's license, and I could drive from Grass Valley to Browns Valley and back.
I bet you wish you still had that car. I'm just guessing here.
No, it was a fun car. Yeah, it was a learning experience. I don't know if it was too good a shape or not, but we had fun, and the neighbor kids would all come down, and behind the school all there was pear orchards, and so I couldn't drive on the highways unless I went to work because of my restricted license, but we would take it out into the pear orchard and drive around and just have fun with it.
And then did you drive it to high school later?
I don't believe so. No, I think we caught the bus at Union Hill and I went to Nevada City Junior High School my freshman year, and then the senior high school we just rode buses. And you got to realize, even though gasoline was only 20 cents a gallon, I got 25 cents a week for my lunch money at school, and we'd save maybe a nickel out of that. And so by the end of the month, I may have enough for a gallon or two of gas. And then from there, we'd usually use that to go to Red Dog and U-Bet and explore that country.
So even at a young age, you were real curious about those mines out there. And
yeah, the Empire Mine, as you know, was running then, and you could hear the noise. It wasn't extreme noise, but a constant industrial roar. And the kids that I went to school with, played with, their fathers would trade at the store, and they would always come in with a story about how their workday was. And I was always listening to those stories. And then we would go over at the mine, the Empire Mine, and sneak around as young kids have the curiosity to see what's going on. And we'd watch the miners coming up and down the man skips, and there were cars coming up and down too. So yeah.
Did you have ambitions of perhaps one day being in those mines?
No, not really. We explored all the country around the Empire Mine, Union Hill area, went into every hole in the ground we could find, and we built a couple of the holes we found. The porcupines would make their dens in there, and so that would always scare us. So we made spears with a metal point on them, and so we'd take those in with us, and once in a while we'd get confronted with a wild porcupine, and we'd have to do it in so we could get out of there.
They'll get your attention, that's for sure. So business slowed at your daddy's store. Times were tough. You saw a huge transition going from a vibrant community to one that was struggling. What happened? What did your dad do to keep his family intact and make a livelihood?
Well, after he finally let the store go, he came to Grass Valley, and he worked temporarily as a mail carrier for the post office department. And then he kept looking for work and found a ranch foreman job opening in Susanville, California. And so he applied for that. And I can remember when we first got the map out to find out where that was, there was a nice big lake up there called Honey Lake. And so I was excited about that, being able to move and live up there by this Honey Lake. But it was called Honey Lake because it was just like honey. It was an alkali lake. It wasn't fresh water at all. So it wasn't good for boating or fishing or anything at all. So
that's a little bit of a transition to get from behind the counter of a mercantile and then working cattle.
The ranch job was a furnished house and food, and so all they had to do was put in their hours and work. My mom helped. She was a seamstress, so she did a lot of sewing for the family who owned the ranch. And then Dad would feed the cattle, and it wasn't a real large ranch, and he would take the tractors and mow the hay and put that up, and I really enjoyed it. That was my last year in high school, so I left here in my junior year, and I went there as a senior and finished high school there in Susanville.
And you met somebody up there rather special.
That's where I met my wife, 53 years now. And we just hit it off. And of course, I always kid her that I was new blood in town, so she glommed on to me, and I was very happy. Though we've been very happy. We've made it work. Have 3 fine boys, too.
I think 53 years is a California record. I'm not sure on that, but you liked your work up there, but after you graduated and you met Levita, you still kind of pined for Nevada County. And
yeah, I'd bring her down to see the area here and the clean, nice rivers that we had, where they were they weren't polluted, but they were a dark, I think it was a tannic acid from the trees up there and the lava rocks. They weren't very clean, so I'd spare time or vacation, we'd come down, bring her down here to see this area and explore the area that I knew so well.
Did she fall in love with it, or was she reluctant to leave home?
No, she loved it. Yeah, she still does. And even after my career started and we transferred here, and through my work, she was a little disappointed. She left home with friends because she was raised there as a young child, and but it wasn't long before she made friends here, and says that's the best thing we ever did was to move here and raise our kids.
Well, that's comforting to hear those words. You say you started your career. Tell us about that guy.
Well, we married in Sacramento. I was working in a sawmill there, molding mill in West Sacramento, and she lived downtown Sacramento and worked for the agriculture department. And I had a room in Sacramento, so I'd go visit her and go to walk across town. So I would go by the old post office down there, and one day I was in, and there was an ad on the wall for postal employees, civil service job, permanent job. So I applied and got a job, and the job took me to McClellan Air Force Base, where I worked there, but I watched the airplanes going back and forth, and so that mechanical ability I had started to surface, and I don't want to do this postal work. I want to work on the airplanes. So I took a couple exams there on the base and was able to get a job as an aircraft mechanic and hydraulic systems mechanic for McClellan Air Force Base. So I stayed there for 8 years, but then my heart was in Grass Valley. So we'd come up here most weekends. We lived in North Highlands and explore the area, and which she still loved. And so how can I stay in civil service and have that career opportunity? And I thought, well, the only thing up here was Forest Service, and I thought if I could transfer from Department of Defense to Department of Agriculture Forest Service, I could maintain my time in civil service. So we applied, and it took, I don't know, about 5 years before they offered me a job back in Susanville, believe it or not, on the Lassen National Forest. So I worked there from 1966 to 1974, and then an opportunity came open here in Nevada City. So then I transferred here and finished my career here, 35 years with civil service and Forest Service.